What advice would you give to your 25-year-old self?
I thought I was done. There's nothing more to live for. My husband asked for a divorce after 46 years of marriage. The world was broken. If you can't see it, maybe it'll go away, but it doesn't.
What was life like, the world like during World War II?
Oh,
Today I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, asking the world's most accomplished 103-year-old some of life's deepest questions. In this video, Gladys is going to share all of her insights and wisdom for how to live a more fulfilling life. So without further ado, let's get into it.
How old are you, for people who don't know?
100 and almost 3.
100 and almost 3. Almost 104.
104. I was cheating.
You're cheating, yeah. So many you start to count, right?
No, I'll remember that. I'm going to be 104.
Yeah. What does it feel like to be turning 104?
It's amazing, absolutely amazing. I never, I can't even remember what it is because it's just another day. And it comes and I live that day and it's awesome and things happen and things good and happy and some sad and life goes on. So it's an amazing experience to be alive at this point. I'm in awe.
I think a lot of people are. Yeah. How do you think you've gone to this point? And, you know, you're still here, first of all. You've lived such a long time, but you also you're there. I've met a couple of people in their late 90s and 100 plus, and they're mentally, they're not with it. So how have you gone to this point and still feel as good as you do?
Well, I've found that I have a purpose and I have a message, and that people around the world are frightened and they don't know what to do. They don't know where to reach. And so if I could reach out to them with a little of my light and share it with them, it makes their light great, you know, and then they can go from there and take it. It's not something that's, well, I almost said it's magic, but it feels like that, you know. It's that kind of energy that is, other people catch it, and they catch it, and then they give it, and they give it, and they give it. Yeah. And it's wonderful. It makes life so exciting.
Yeah. So do you think if you didn't have that purpose, or a purpose in general, life would have looked differently? Or maybe you wouldn't be here at this point?
Yeah, I think it's right, because I've always known that I had something I had to do. I knew I was a doctor when I was 2 years old, because my dolls got sick, and my sister's dolls didn't get sick because she wouldn't let me touch them.
I love that. So what do you think is the difference between someone who lives to, let's say, in their 80s versus someone who can extend their life and get to where you are? Is it the purpose, or are there other things as well?
Well, I think love is the basic. Love and life together, work together. And when you find what it is that makes you excited and keeps your life force going, it keeps going. Yeah. And it's catching, because other people need it too. And so as we share, and as life and love grow together, it's amazing. And I don't know why I lived this long, except I know I still have something to say.
That's probably why,
yeah.
If you're thinking about it. I think a lot of people that I know, like grandparents, my friends' grandparents, when they retired, they basically put their whole purpose, their whole self-worth on their career. And then when they retired, they had nothing to live for, so to speak. Right. So that really drained them, and I think it aged them. And yeah, so you're just continuously having more of a purpose. I mean, you write books and you speak to people.
Well,
so.
you know, if the purpose that you're working for suddenly moves out of the way, you either find another or you just let it drop. And you know, it's like when my husband asked for a divorce after 46 years of marriage. I thought I was done. I thought it was finished. I was completely broken. I was in my car riding back from my office to my empty home except my dog, and I thought, there's nothing more to live for, because we had done so much together. We'd created the American Holistic Medical Association and all this stuff, and then he asked for a divorce. And I felt like I was just in limbo. And I was driving home from work, and I was just in the car, and I was just crying and acting. I was terrible. I was broken. So finally, before I got to my house, I stopped the car, and I got out, and I looked in my car, and I looked at the whole outside world, and I said to myself, are you going to spend the rest of your life like that, like I was in the car? And I thought, but life is here too, you know? And all of a sudden the words came into my mind, this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And there was my name. So the next morning I went to the license plate, and I had my license changed to Be Glad, because from that point on for 60 years, every day I went out to the car, I had to see Be Glad, and people behind me had to see it too.
Yeah.
So it was a message that had to be, I still had to give to other people. So keep looking for it. If you're not looking for it, you don't find it.
Yeah.
You honestly don't.
How old were you at the time of the divorce?
Well, how old was I, John?
How old was she when your parents got divorced?
Oh, she was about 70 something.
Yeah.
In your 70s.
Yeah. Well, we'd been married 46 years and had 6 kids and the whole
Yeah.
shebang. You know?
What happened
Oh, he found somebody.
in the 70s?
Uh-huh.
Wow. How do you? I'm curious. I think a lot of people go through, moments like that where they're feeling loss or grief and they're not sure how to get past it. I have a friend right now that I'm thinking about with a recent breakup, and he is crushed by that breakup, and he doesn't know what to do with himself.
Yeah.
If you feel that way, how do you move forward?
Oh, I was totally broken. I mean, I really didn't have any idea what I was going to do, but I knew I had work to do, and I had to keep on going. But when that came into my mind, I knew that there was still work for me to do. So I think the important thing is not to shut everything down. I could have gone back in the car and shut the door and sat in the rest of my life being horribly broken. Yeah. Or I could keep that door open and see what else came up. And I didn't want to be broken. And actually, about several months later, it was about a year later, I was able to write my ex-husband a letter and say, thank you for giving me my freedom. Because all of a sudden, I was not Bill and Gladys like I had always been during our marriage. I was Dr. Gladys. So all of a sudden, I had a new identity, and I could use it.
I'm curious, what do you think about this? If someone's going through a similar feeling to what you went through, do you think that idea of writing a thank you letter to them, you don't have to send it necessarily, but do you think everyone should do that? That seems so liberating from the way that you're talking about it.
When they're ready. You can't make up a lot of stuff. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that you hear people say, and it doesn't ring true. But when you hear something and it rings true to you, claim it and write it down or talk to somebody about it or tell somebody. But that's why I'm legally blind, but my insight is better because I'm not looking at a lot of things out there that I can't see, but I can certainly understand some things that I can't see. Right. But I can really, the insight comes from within, where I've been living a long time and I've experienced a lot of things. So that touches in with what's happening. And all of a sudden there's things to do. Look at this, what we're doing.
I know.
Can you believe it?
You're talking to someone from Canada right now. Like
in my living room.
in your living room, in Arizona.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And it's 113 outside.
It is so hot. Yeah, that's like 45 degrees Celsius. That's crazy. I want to touch up on what you just said, which is not to age you, but how long you have been around for. So you're almost 104. So you were born in 1920.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yes, November 30th.
1920.
So
just like for reference for people who are listening, just like the magnitude of that. Second World War started and you were 19 years old.
Actually, it was at the end of World War One. No, World War Two. And then I went to medical school during World War Two.
Yeah.
And then I've been through all the rest of this stuff.
That's like the way we talk about it. So I'm 25 for reference. So I've never been able to say this, but you're 4 times my age. You're 4 times older than me.
Let's shake hands.
Let's shake hands. Wow. Look at that. That is synergy right there. Yeah. What can you just, I don't think anybody's able to tell a story about what living through World War II was like. So can you talk about what living through those major events was like?
Well, and for me, since I was a physician and women didn't have a place in the field of medicine, the first internship that I had was at Cincinnati Deaconess Hospital in Cincinnati. And they had places when the men doctors were on call, but there was no place for me. So I had the x-ray table and a pillow. But people have asked me, well, did that make you angry? And I said, no way. I was glad to have anything. Yeah. And I could handle that. But at least I got that. And for me, it's always been take the steps that are there. My mother called it make do. But my mother was a physician in 1913. She got her osteopathic license, and she and my dad moved to India, but she didn't have a passport. She was like baggage on his passport.
Wow, they weren't given passports to women at that time?
Well, they were given not to women.
Wow. So she could only travel with her husband.
Yeah.
Wow. What do you think was the most impactful moment for, let's say, women's rights from when you've been alive? Like, when do you think that things really started to change?
I don't think there was any one time. I think it was a constant work, struggle, constant finding something, working at it, keeping at it. It's like I was called up repeatedly before our board of medical examiners, and they would reprimand me, and I would go back home, do whatever I was going to do. But this one day, I finished being reprimanded, and I accepted that, and I walked out of the room, and this one doctor came up behind me, and he taps me on the shoulder, and he says, "Now let me tell you something, honey." Oh, that pushed a button in me.
Wow.
I turned around, and I looked at him, and I had my car keys in my hand, and I started beating him on his shoulder. No. And I said, "Don't you call me honey. I'm your age. and peer-wise uh, and professionally and so on.
Yeah.
And I went on, and I scared him so bad. He's going down like this. My lawyer, I looked over, and he was hanging onto the wall laughing. I came and told my daughter this, and she said, because she's a physician too, you know, we've been practicing together. And she said, "Oh, Mom, you didn't."
Wow.
But, you know, there are times when you simply, in my experience, it's not being something that is too aggressive when it's absolutely stepping over boundaries that shouldn't be there. Yeah. He had no business calling me honey.
For sure. Yeah. And yeah. So I want to just know from you, what was it like? What was life like, the world like during World War II? I'm very curious about that. If you remember concretely some memories.
Oh, yeah. I was in medical school at that time. And my husband was in medical school, but he was in Cincinnati. It was, we got our news from the not the newspaper so much as the TV, not the
radio?
pictures, you know.
Pictures.
If they would have a newsreel, that's what I'm thinking of.
Wow.
And but there were a number of my classmates whose husbands were overseas. My husband was in medical school in the V12 program, so I didn't have the same angst that they did. But every day there was something that was scary, something that had happened. And the world was broken. It was totally broken. And then it reached down to every one of us, all of us who were living with this process. And V-Day was huge, just huge.
Well, what were you doing on V-Day? Do you remember?
Well, we had you always have picnics, you know. So we had a picnic and just celebrated however we could.
What did you eat at that picnic? Do you remember? Like what kinds of things that were
You bring your basket and you share it and all this. But let me tell you another picnic. July 4th, 1932. I was still in India, and my brother, my younger brother, had made a little crystal radio out of a toy set that he had, and we had a picnic. The missionaries on the hill had a picnic for 4th of July, and Gordon had his little radio, and we heard the abdication of the Prince of Wales when he abdicated his throne in London for what was her name? Anyway, it'll come to me.
Wally Simpson.
Yeah, Wally Simpson, and we were American missionaries, and we were so embarrassed by what was going on, but that was amazing. Gordon had this little crystal. That's the only way we got the news.
Wow.
You know, was his little crystal radio. But we're all sitting around getting this news. So when I look back on what has happened and what is available now, I can't say what part of it is the most important, because it's all been one step at a time. You know, Gordon's little radio allowed us to do that. And that was huge. My having an X-ray table to sleep on, that was huge. You know, it comes and you accept it as it comes along and say, thank you. Thank you. But sometimes you have to punch it out.
Yeah.
I have listened to more than 1,000 hours of life advice from older people, and I have learned tons of lessons, like not to have any regrets, to travel more, and to stop caring about what others think. And while all of that is nice to hear, how can you transform your life from not bad to great so that you don't wake up one day and wonder, what if? Our goal-setting journal is a fully guided journal based entirely off the more than 1,250 interviews we've conducted with people who are older and wiser and more successful. This goal-setting journal will walk you step by step through self-reflection, goal setting, and goal tracking to figure your life out, to turn your dreams into goals, and then turn those goals into your reality. I've been building, using, and refining this journal for over 5 years, and it has helped thousands of members in our community take their life to the next level. For a short time, you will also get a 30-day money-back guarantee and over $500 of exclusive bonuses by clicking the link below and grabbing a copy while the offer still lasts. So there is literally zero harm in trying.
Listen, I love that. So you're saying, obviously the world in World War II was broken, right? And everyone was definitely fearful of the future and what would come. And I would say that right now, a lot of people are super fearful about what the world will be and what it will look like. And I think that definitely puts a lot of strain on people's mental health and mindset. So you've been through so many periods in life that have seemed like, what's the world going to be like? Is this it? Is it the end? Is it going to get any better? And it always seems to correct itself.
Look for the light. If you're looking for the darkness, you'll find it. But look for the light, because the sun always comes up, and the moon comes up, and the stars. There's always light to be looked for if we look for it. And I kind of think I've got a good flashlight. I can't show it to you, but I have a good flashlight. And if I'm walking on a path that's dark and all I can see is one step at a time, I can take those steps one step at a time. But as I look over to one side or the other, maybe on the left side there's a tiny little glimmer of light. But if I take my flashlight and put it on with that little glimmer, it lights the whole thing up. In other words, if we have something that we have to share and we share it, life gets more exciting. And it not only for us, but for the person that finds the light, and all of a sudden, there's more there.
Why do you think people gravitate towards darkness?
Scared. They're really afraid to really look at what's there. Yeah. And so if you can't see it, maybe it'll go away, but it doesn't. If you carry a bag of fear on your shoulder and you keep looking back at that bag of fear, your neck's going to get stuck. And then what you going to do? I mean, you just are stuck in that spot. So just don't get stuck with it. Pull your neck back. Look for the light. Look for hope. If you're looking for it, you'll find it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to find. Sometimes it's very hidden. But love is the great healer. Love is the one that, I have these 5 L's that I think actually, for me, have given me a little bit of a platform from which to work at. The first 2 are life and love. They go together. They don't function without each other. It's like when I'm pregnant, the baby that I'm carrying is one with me. Everything I eat, he eats. Everything I think, he thinks. It's all one unit. But it becomes a separate unit when he takes his first breath. When that baby takes its first breath, then his life becomes his own to choose and to work with. And then from then he goes on. So the life and love function together. The third L is laughter. Laughter without love is cruel. It's it hurts. It breaks up families. It causes wars. It's cold. It's mean. But laughter with love is joy and happiness. It's what makes it lights your life up. And the fourth one is drudgery, is labor. Labor becomes drudgery if you're just dragging it along. Too many diapers, works too hard, this, that. But when you actually look at it with love, you find what you're finding. The work that you are doing is 10 times as hard and longer hours than anything that you would be doing when you were dragging yourself through it. Yeah. So finding the aspect of your own being that says, I got it, and you go after that. That's what lights you up. And really, I'm working at this. I'm working at this age to do something that I can do. I can talk, but and I know that the world is hungry for it. So it's this kind of thing. And then the last L is listening. Listening without love is empty sound. You just don't hear it, But if you're listening with love, you'll hear it, and it'll speak to you.
Yeah. I want to touch up on a lot of them, but let's start with laughter. I was reading this statistic a few weeks ago. This is a study that I forget who did it, but the average 4-year-old, they say, laughs 300 times a day. The average 40-year-old laughs on average 4 times a day. Why do we laugh so little when we get older?
We forget. And we start carrying the bag that it's better to let it go. My mother had the saying in Hindustani, kuch purwane, many, many things come along, but they're just not worth it, so just let it go. Just let it go. If you take it in, if somebody says something mean to you, and you take it in and you say, well, that hurt my feelings, it hurts your feelings. Yeah. But if you take it in and you say, oh, well, it doesn't matter, and you let it go, it's gone. You don't even remember it.
How important is the way we speak to ourselves? I think that's what you're kind of touching up on, right? The way that you react and the way that you treat the things that come at you and the way that you talk to yourself about it. How important is that? Vital.
I have this isn't any theology or anything, it's just my thinking. I think that
the theory of Gladys.
Yeah. That when God created the earth and the universe, and whoever God is to each one of us, God, okay, created the earth, and it was perfect. Everything was in place, just where it was supposed to be. And then he created the human being. And he said to us, this creation is perfect. It's just the way it should be. I now give you dominion over this whole creation because you're the only beings in this living process who have free will and choice. So I give you dominion over this whole thing. And we, in our arrogance, thought he said dominance. And we said, oh, boy, and we pulled it into ourselves. And look what we've done to Mother Earth.
Yeah.
If we can just step back and realize that we're supposed to be taking care of Mother Earth because we can. We have choice and we have our free will. And we're the only beings on this earth, on this creation, who have that. Now, your dog's trained to have it, and other animals that are your pets and so on, you train to do this, but the actual choice of this way or that way is ours.
It seems like we come to those conclusions later in life too much, right? Like I think a lot of people around my age they negative, they carry the baggage. I think even into your 50s and 60s probably of a lot of baggage that's being carried, and then it seems like as you get older you just realize life is about a lot more simple things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a really good friend, and she's in her 90s, and she called me a week or two ago, and she said, "Oh, I wake up in the morning, and I think, oh, not another new day." And I thought, oh, how sad.
That's terrible.
Wow. That's so sad. I wake up and think, wow, what am I supposed to do today? And the sun comes up. And when the sun comes up, everything's lighted up, and sometimes it doesn't come up. And we have thunderstorms and all of that. But, light is not going anyplace.
Yeah. Do you have friends older than you? Or are you the oldest of all your friends?
What?
Do you have any friends older than you right now?
I don't think so, John, that are alive.
No, yeah, that are alive.
Huh?
You're the oldest that you know?
That I know of. I don't think so. If there are any out there, let me know.
We'll start a little community.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The centenarians.
Yeah, exactly. Very exclusive. It's not that many. What is it like to go through life, I say especially in the last 20 years, and you start seeing people that you were close with, that you spent a lot of time with, passing away? Like, how do you deal with that sort of?
Well, one of my really close friends, he and I started the American Holistic Medical. Norm Shealy died last Monday, and so
I'm sorry.
I'm missing him. but nothing can take away my memories of what we did and how we were. I have this place called Memory Lane, and anytime I choose, I can go down Memory Lane, and nobody can take that away from me. So the people that I have loved and that have lived their lives when I've lived mine, even the little people when we were children, they are still part of my memory lane. And so they're as real as anything because they're in my thoughts. And I can conjure them, I can call them back. All of my siblings are gone. Finding people my age would be kind of an interesting thing, because I don't think I know anybody my age. Do I, John? No.
We'll do Bumble for friends, but for centenarians. And how old is your oldest kid?
He's 78.
Wow. What do you say to your kids? Do you ever make jokes about them being old?
Oh, yeah.
What do you say?
When during the COVID stuff,
yeah.
I let them know they were the elderly. I was the ancient one.
Yeah, we interviewed this 98-year-old and 94-year-old in Canada, and their kids are in their 70s also, and they always call them and they always tell them, "Wow, you're getting old now,
Yeah.
You don't move the way you used to move." That's such a privilege, right?
Yeah.
To be able to have that. What about labor? I'm curious about labor. A lot of people, especially my age, they work in jobs they're not happy with, kind of lead lives we're not thrilled with. I think maybe at a certain point, midlife crisis, quarter life crisis, you come to the realization, maybe I should have done what I was passionate about. But then to that point, most people don't know what they're passionate about. So my question to you is, how do you figure out what you want to do so that we can lead our labor with love?
Keep looking for it. I'm dyslexic. I'm severely dyslexic. I had to repeat first grade twice, and because I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I was a class dummy, and all of that. And that carried through till I was 91 years old. And because
12 years ago, by the way.
No, listen. I was 91 years old. I'd write a book. I'd give it to somebody to proofread so that I was sure I'd done it right. I'd write a speech. The same thing. I'd have somebody else check it because I wasn't sure of my own voice. And it was something that was so broken when I was that age that I really had to have someone else. I would do the whole thing and then have someone else check it for me before I actually published it or did something to it. So that was something that I had to do until I found my voice when I was 93. And what happened was I had a dream. Now, through the years, I've paid attention to my dreams. And I really ask people to look for help in your dreams. Ask yourself what it is and talk it over with yourself and ask yourself. But in my dream, I woke up one Sunday morning and I was laughing and I was singing. And then I realized that this was still part of the dream. And in the dream, I saw myself as 9-year-old Gladys out in the jungle of North India, just coming out of our tent that we were living in, and checking to make sure my little brother wasn't out there, because he was going to tattle. If he saw me doing what I knew I was going to do, he would tattle on me, and I'd be in real trouble, because we were not allowed to sing anything but hymns or bhajans on a Sabbath morning. So I didn't think that was a good idea. I'm 9 years old, and I know a lot. So, so I think it's a stupid rule, and so nobody's there to hear me. And I climbed as fast as I can up to the top of the mango tree, and I'm sitting up there. I'm singing everything, Caterpillar song, anything I want to sing. I'm singing it. But every so often I look over my shoulder, and Jesus is up in the tree with me. This is my dream. And I look over and I say, Jesus loves the little children, right? And he's laughing. He's really laughing. He says, yes. And I say, so then I go back to my singing, and then I think, did he really say yes? So I look back over my shoulder and I say, I'm still a little children, right? And he says, yes. So I go back to my singing. And it was that when I woke up, because I woke up singing and laughing and thinking, you can accept your own voice because Jesus accepts it, I mean, if Jesus can accept your own voice, you better start paying attention to it yourself.
Yeah.
But that was when I was 93. And so it's never too late for you, me, us, to pay attention to what it is that we really want to say, that we've lived here a while and we've got a message, and sometimes it's a good message, sometimes it's not understood. Yeah. But if it's a message that we understand and we think is worth talking about and working with, go for it. Just go for it. It may get you in trouble sometimes, but, Yeah.
And I guess trust yourself is what I'm hearing from that too.
You what?
Trust yourself is what I'm hearing from that as well. Most
Yes.
people, I don't think, trust themselves enough to go for it and then stick with it.
Yeah.
I
Well-
want to. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, my oldest son is a retired orthopedic surgeon. And when he'd finished his training in orthopedics, he came through here ready to start his practice in Del Rio, Texas. But he said to me, Mom, I'm going into the world. I'm going to have people's lives in my hands. I don't know if I can handle that. And I said to him, well, Carl, if you think you're the one that does the healing, you have a right to be scared. But if you take this work that you've learned, orthopedic surgeon, and you use that work with love, I said, I don't want a butcher doing something to me if I got a broken something or other. I want a good orthopedic surgeon who knows what he's doing to do it to me. So you use, with love, you use what you've been trained to do, and then you watch the physician within that patient take what you've given and make it work. Because each one of us has within us the physician within us who takes that's the listening part of the 5 L's, and makes it work. Because that's when they say, oh, I understand that. We can do this. It makes it part of your whole being, because every physician that works with patients, if they can understand that there is within that patient their colleague, then it's something worth working for.
I love that. And I'm curious. So Dennis and I were reading through your book, or listening to the audiobook version of it, and you talk about at some point in your life that you had cancer, if I'm not mistaken.
What?
Cancer?
Uh-huh.
At one point, and that a big component of you being able to push past that and heal from it was self-love.
Yeah.
Can you talk about, just for people who don't know, what happened with the cancer, and then also what did you do to remedy it?
Well, I had cancer 2 different times in my life. One when I was in my 30s, and then again when I was in my 90s, I think, something like that. Anyway, the first time I went on a fast and did a really holistic process. But when this last time, I didn't have time. I wasn't in a position to be able to do that. So what I did was, when I got the diagnosis and I realized what it was a lump in my breast, and it was cancerous. And so I came home and I thought up, or I conjured up in my mind a little suitcase, hand-tooled suitcase, that was just a lovely little thing. It was a very pretty little suitcase. And I said to this suitcase, I talked to my breast, and I said, this suitcase is there for a purpose, and I want, and it was a really pretty one. In my mind, I had it all tooled. I said, I want you to call to any cancer cell anywhere in my body and call to them and tell them that on such and such a date, we're going to have a picnic, and you're all invited to come and climb into this little suitcase, and then we're going on the trip. And so that was when I had the date for when the surgery was going to be done. So I had the surgical removal, I had radiation, I had the regular process, but I did it knowing what I was doing and letting my body know all through the whole time what was happening, and asking for the communication with my body and what I had told it was there. This little place where they could come and these cancer cells could come and gather. And then when the surgery was done, I let them know they were, they were going on a picnic.
What's the takeaway about life that you learned from that experience?
That life we have choices. I could have sat down and I had the choice of not having the surgery. That was the thing. And I realized that I really was doing a lot of other work, and I didn't want to take the time to really do the fasting like I did the first time. So this time I chose what was available to me, and that's what I went with. But I made it possible for something that I could work with, that me and my body could work with. So I tell the story as my story, asking people to dream up their own story. Dream up what's going to work for you, because that's what will work for you. Your body's working for you. And when it understands what it is that you as a person and the physician within you have come up with as a healing process now, then use it.
I love that. Okay.
Guys, it's one thing to listen to the advice that you're hearing in this conversation, but are you taking action on it? We've created a free newsletter that shares the stories, life advice, and actionable strategies to live your most fulfilling life from over 1,257 older people twice a week, every week for free. This newsletter is made for you if you are afraid of growing old and having regrets that you did not live the life that you should have, because you're going to learn decades and decades of real lessons and experiences from those who have been through life and are reflecting on what makes it great. Now, because you're listening to this episode, we are giving away $250 of free bonus self-reflection exercises and masterminds taught by over 1,000 different older, wiser, and successful people. You can join totally for free by clicking the link in our description or scanning the QR code that is on this screen to join today.
I have a few questions from people in my audience who they love you and they want to know more about you and more about your advice. So one question that I have here is, what do you wish that you did more of? If you're looking back on your life, are there certain things that you regret not doing more of?
Well, I don't want to ever go through another divorce like I did. I mean, that was very, very painful for me. And, but it did give me my freedom, and I was able to grow with it. It was liberating. So when I once got that idea, but what was your question?
Yeah. What do you regret not doing more of in your life? Is there something you wish you did more of, maybe when you were younger?
I don't know how I could do anything more. I mean, really.
Pretty good track record so far.
Yeah. Sometimes I have, doing these podcasts and things around the world, sometimes I'm so exhausted because that's energy that comes to me and it's shared.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. I'm honored by having to do that, but it's hard work.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, another one would be, well, actually maybe follow up to that. So you still were married for 46 years. That's by all means quite successful. What is in your opinion, a key to a long-lasting relationship?
It's love and trust and faith and sharing and being honest with each other and not looking for the best in each other and finding it and then working with that and let the rest of the, like dirty clothes, just you don't have to keep looking at those.
Yeah. Yeah. What is the truth about life that you wish more young people understood?
That life and love work together. They're one unit, like it when I was pregnant. But life and love, if you're going to grow, life has to move. And when it moves, it's really, that's where it gets its juice, and that's where it keeps on. So love is a great healer. When you get right down to it, love in an aspect, like I was talking to one of the heads of hospital here a while back, and he said, it's difficult trying to integrate the different modalities of healing that are available to us now, homeopathy and osteopathy, all these different modalities in the hospitals. It's hard for the structure of the hospital. And my response to him was, well, I think that any of these modalities which are used with love should be used. Any way you can work it into your practice, because love is a great healer. You may have certain modalities that work, but if they're used with love, it's a whole new ball game.
Yeah. What do you eat? What is your diet? What are some foods that you eat on a daily basis at 100 and almost 4 years old?
I eat what I can eat. I grew up in India and ate, I love Indian food, and I loved going out and eating with the people, And the little Indian kids, when I was running around with them, they'd rub my arm to try and get the white off. They wanted me the same color as them, and I did too. It wouldn't go. So, but my diet is what I can do, and it changes. And my son John goes out and gets some food, and I eat it. So I don't have. I try to keep it as fresh as possible. I try to keep it as normal, not an extreme, just the ordinary home cooked food if you can do it. If not, as close as you can get. And because I raised the kids that way, and
Yeah. What's like your favorite meal that you like eating still to this point, or favorite food?
I don't have a favorite meal. A long time ago, I decided I'm happy that I've got food. Because there have been times in my life when I didn't have it available, but...
Yeah. Do you ever had In-N-Out Burger? Would we ever catch you having a fast food hamburger, or no?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah. I haven't had one for years, but there have been times.
Yeah? Huh? Yeah, why not? But you would, if John brought it home.
Yeah. So, my kids have hamburger stuff they cook outside now. We used to do it when the family was there. We consider ourselves kind of a normal family.
Wow. I love that. Most people would not think that you'd be doing that, but it's like, I think Warren Buffett also, I'm not sure how old Warren Buffett is now, maybe in his late 80s. He says he has McDonald's and Coke all the time.
Yeah.
And he's still going strong.
Yeah.
So to that point, I think a lot of people attribute diet to longevity, which I'm sure it's obviously very important. But what other habits, or just in general, what things contribute to living a long life?
Keep moving. I walk with my walker, and I keep my steps on my cell phone so that I make sure that I keep moving. And I don't have any place to go, okay? So I go around my own little house here, and but I keep steps. So keep moving, keep your body moving. Get at least 8 hours of sleep a night if you can do it. A lot of people, sometimes you can't. But take a nap.
Yeah.
Take a nap. And, I understand, and it took a while for me to understand that when you take a rest, you're not being lazy. You're doing something. You're actually taking a rest. You're not going and just being lazy. Taking a rest is something that is a good thing to do.
Yeah, I need that. that one felt personal. How do you lead a low stress life? Like, if assuming someone's very stressed out in life, what are some things we can do to lower that stress?
Oh, get some music going. Get some good music. Watch a child giggle. Do something that tickles you, something that makes your diaphragm vibrate so that you're laughing, and that settles the adrenals down, because the diaphragm sits right on top of your adrenals, and fear and all of that stuff sits in the adrenals. Well, if your diaphragm starts jiggling the adrenals, it has trouble hanging on to the other stuff. So do what you can to laugh. There is, I'm so glad that my name is Gladys.
Built in. Yeah, it's built in. You got that positivity built into you.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So you grew up in India. You live in the U.S. I've been to India. We've traveled extensively in the East and the West. I'm curious on your opinion. What are things that people do in the East to live a good life, be less stressed, so forth, that you think more people in the West could do?
I don't know that they have. Here's the thing: use what you've got. I had the jungles of North India, for crying out loud. When I was a kid growing up, but I don't have the jungles of. I've got a 1 acre lot here, and my daughter's husband is a wonderful gardener, and he's got all kinds of things planted around. Use what you have. Don't try to take. No. Don't try to bow to some other person's place in life, because that's where they are. I mean, I'm 103. I'm here in this spot. I have to take what I've got and use it the best I can. But I had to do the same thing when I was 30. And I had to do the same thing when I was in medical school. And I had my own idea of what medicine was about. And the dean sent me to the psychiatrist three different times, because she thought I didn't have the right attitude towards medicine. But I didn't look at medicine as something that was diseases were to be killed and destroyed, because that's the focus that we were looking during the war, Everything was to get rid of. I was looking at what the lesson was from that. What's this disease teaching us? And working from there. So anyway, it's a matter of taking what you got and using it.
I like that. Okay, I want to ask you two parts of this question. I want to ask you about advice to your younger self, but since you're 103, I want to go to 2 different ages, because you've been around for a while. So what would be your advice if you were to go back in time, knowing everything you know today, and you could speak to your 25-year-old self? What advice would you give to her to live better?
Don't lose the light. Follow the light. And love is always the great teacher. Always. If you can find a difficult place in your life and you are thinking that you're stuck there, find the love and light in it, because you'll find it if you look for it, but you won't if you don't look for it. Mm. So look for it. The hard times come, but they go too.
Would the advice, if I asked you also to your 50-year-old self, if you could go back in time knowing what you know today and give your 50-year-old self a piece of advice, would that advice be different than what you just said?
No.
Just maintain that throughout.
It was when I was 46 that Bill asked for a divorce, and that just threw me into a spin. But I found my independence. Yeah. You know? Mm-hmm. And so it's, I'm really content with where I am. I don't have much, here, but I've got the whole world.
Yeah. And everyone listening to this is definitely inspired. I mean, the whole world is listening, right? So you have it all. If you could give 3 pieces of advice, like think of this as my last question, and you're out guiding wisdom.
Yeah.
If you could leave people listening and watching with 3 pieces of advice or 3 tips on living a more fulfilling life, what would your 3 best pieces be?
Well, yeah, it does. The food that you serve in your home is completely transformed by whether it's formed with love and hope, or whether it's just dragged out of a bag, So the way it's presented, the way we present our life to the world, if it's in a outreach of love, not of anger and hate and so on, it's going to help the world, because that will grow. The anger and hate kills itself, it just destroys itself. But love and hope and joy, and they call for each other. And if we can look towards that all the time, it's awesome. It's going to be 113 out here in a couple hours. Mm-hmm. I don't have to go out. I'm in here in the air conditioned. I can look at the sun and all of that. I don't have to go out.
Yeah, you take what you have.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank
you so
you
much
for doing this.
Thank you for being you.